With a smile on her face, she joyfully said,
Actually, I've decided to go on a trip to Hawaii soon.
I tilted my head, trying to comprehend her words. Given her financial struggles and the burden of her monthly loan repayments, it made no sense for her to be planning an international trip, especially to somewhere as expensive as Hawaii. On top of that, she was making me send her money every month. The idea of her going to Hawaii by herself while I was financially supporting her was just unacceptable. There was no way I could let this slide. You shouldn't be saying things like that. I couldn't contain my anger and ended up shouting at her. She looked at me in surprise, momentarily at a loss for words. Yes, this was all a scheme orchestrated by my husband. After learning a certain truth revealed by my mother-in-law, I was left utterly astonished. My name is Emily, and I'm 35 years old. I work as a full-time employee at a general company, living a simple but fulfilling life. I've been married to Miles for 5 years, and we've been enjoying our peaceful everyday life without any major troubles. However, one day, our lives as a married couple were suddenly thrown into disarray. It all started when my father-in-law passed away. He was a warm-hearted man who always looked out for us with kindness, despite his few words. I truly believe that I was able to blend seamlessly into my husband's family because of him. That's why I found it so hard to accept his death. After the funeral, as our daily lives gradually began to return to normal, my husband brought up an important matter during dinner one evening.
Emily, I'm a bit hesitant to bring this up all of a sudden, but there's something I want to talk to you about.
What's wrong? Is there a problem?
Well, the thing is, starting from next month, I've been thinking about sending a little money to my parents' house.
Wait, send money? Why all of a sudden?
Since Dad passed away, I've been worried that it might be tough for Mom to manage on her own. So, I thought it might help if we could support her a bit.
Wait a minute, let me hear more about this. I interrupted my husband's explanation, feeling a bit panicked. I understand that it's tough with your father's passing, but your sister lives at home with your mother, right? And
Yeah, that's true, but
my husband has a sister who lives with their parents. She works for a highly prestigious company and earns significantly more than my husband. My father-in-law also had a stable job before he passed away. Therefore, my mother-in-law should be receiving his pension. On the other hand, we work for a relatively small company and our income isn't particularly high compared to other couples our age. Considering the situation, I just couldn't comprehend why we needed to send money to my financially stable mother-in-law. Miles, neither your mom nor your sister is struggling financially, right? Despite that, why do we need to send them money? Tell me the real reason. Pressing him for an answer, my husband's unexpected response left me stunned.
The truth is, even though it seems like my mom has plenty of money, she's actually carrying a considerable amount of debt.
What? Your mom is really in debt?
Yes, she is. And what worries me more is that she hasn't told my sister anything about it, which is why I'm really concerned.
that's why I want to help her. Please!
But doesn't she have the severance pay your dad received? Isn't that enough?
That severance pay was almost entirely used up for his hospital bills, surgeries, and funeral expenses when he fell. So my mom's financial situation is really tough right now.
That sounds like a really difficult situation.
I don't want to push you, but please, I'm begging you.
Watching him bow his head earnestly, my heart was filled with a whirlwind of complicated emotions. My mother-in-law had been incredibly kind to me countless times in the past. She diligently took care of the household chores on my behalf and frequently prepared dinner while I was busy job hunting. I also heard that she secretly gave Miles some money to help cover our living expenses when he was job hunting. Whenever I tried to thank her, she would always respond with sincere gratitude, a very sincere and appreciative person. Thanks to her generous support, there's no doubt that our marriage survived through many difficult times. Having received so much warmth and support from her, I couldn't bring myself to abandon her in her time of need. It felt like a disgraceful act as a human being. I was filled with a strong desire to help her out, to repay her for all the kindness she had shown us. After giving it a lot of thought, I eventually decided to accept my husband's suggestion. From then on, we started to cut back even more on our living expenses and began sending money to my mother-in-law. We weren't living a luxurious life to begin with, but we took this opportunity to simplify our meals even further and switched to using lower-cost products in our daily lives. Miles understood the situation and began working overtime almost every day, often until late at night. One day, perhaps due to accumulating fatigue from this unfamiliar lifestyle, I suddenly fell ill and developed a fever. After informing my company about taking a sick day due to illness, I was on my way to the hospital when my husband, Miles, spoke to me.
Wait a minute, are you really planning to go to the hospital?
Yes, I am. But why do you ask?
It's just a fever, right? We need to save money right now, so is it really necessary to go all the way to the hospital?
But confused by my husband's words, I somehow managed to respond. But what if it's a fever caused by a virus? What then?
We have fever reducers at home, don't we? Just take one of those, rest a bit, and you'll be fine. I think going to the hospital is just a waste of money.
That's not fair.
Listen, don't you dare go to the hospital. We are in the middle of saving money right now. Please don't forget that.
His words were stern, but I tried to understand the intention behind them. As a result of my husband's strict words, I had no choice but to just lie down at home. For 3 long days, I was confined to bed. These events led me to slowly start harboring doubts and feelings of distrust towards my husband. A few months passed, and one day, we went to visit my in-laws' house. As we stepped into the living room, we were greeted by a sight of clothes and suitcases scattered haphazardly around. Is this? Perhaps you were in the middle of cleaning up something? In response to my question, my mother-in-law answered with a cheerful expression.
No, that's not it. Actually, we've decided to go on a trip to Hawaii.
A trip to Hawaii.
Yes, that's right. And it was Rachel who invited us. Oh, that reminds me. Emily, if it suits your schedule, why don't you come with us?
Confused and unsure of how to respond, my sister-in-law, Rachel, exclaimed,
That sounds great. Let's all go together.
Wait a minute. What on earth are they talking about? I can't comprehend at all. While Miles and I are saving money and sending it to them, they are planning a luxurious trip to Hawaii. As I stood there dumbfounded, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law grew more and more excited, continuing their conversation.
I've never been to Hawaii before, so I'm really looking forward to it.
I feel the exact same way. Plus, travel expenses are cheaper than I thought they would be at this time, so it's really the perfect time to go.
Really, truly. But don't worry about a thing. Emily, if it turns out that you're coming with us, Rachel and I will cover all the travel expenses, so please rest assured.
That's right. You see, Emily, Miles has been taking care of us ever since he got married. So, this trip is our way of showing our gratitude to him.
Faced with both my mother-in-law and Rachel getting excited without any consideration, my frustration finally reached its limit. I can't take this anymore. How can you even suggest going on an international trip with such a nonchalant attitude? As I shouted in complete rage, my mother-in-law and Rachel were taken aback, losing their words and gaping in surprise. Despite their bewilderment, they desperately tried to calm me down.
Emily, what's gotten into you? Did we say something rude by any chance?
Or, do you perhaps not like traveling? Maybe we forced you into this.
No, that's not it. In the first place, how can you even invite us on a trip? Do you really understand our current situation?
Emily, let's calm down and talk this through.
We really don't understand what the problem is. Why are you so angry?
Enough is enough. If you can afford to go on a trip, then please repay the money we've lent you first.
What?
Debt? What are you talking about?
My bottled-up emotions could no longer be contained, and I couldn't help but pour out my feelings towards them. My husband and I are barely scraping by, saving money, and even when we're not feeling well, we hesitate to visit a doctor. Despite that, we've prioritized sending money to support you and have cut back on our living expenses. Yet, how can you plan a carefree international trip without considering our situation at all? Can't you try to understand our feelings a little bit? After I had said everything I felt, I realized that tears were streaming down my face. I wasn't sure if these tears were out of frustration or sadness. However, it was clear that the days of scrimping and saving to the extreme had taken a heavier toll on me than I had thought. I lost my strength and broke down crying on the spot. Seeing this, my husband rushed over in a panic, trying to comfort me.
Hey, what's wrong with you? Why would you say such a thing to my mom and the others?
Because, well...
Enough is enough. Let's go home.
My husband firmly grabbed my arm and tried to forcefully pull me away. That's when my mother-in-law quietly opened her mouth and attempted to listen to our story.
Wait a minute, please. About this debt, can you explain what you mean exactly?
But mother-in-law, I heard that there was a huge amount of debt. At my words, my mother-in-law's eyes widened in surprise, and then she showed a confused expression.
We don't have any debt at all. We still have your father's retirement benefits and the savings we've accumulated so far. If we had any debt, we wouldn't even think about going on an international trip in the first place.
But at that moment, I understood everything, and a fiery anger surged within me. Despite my husband working overtime every day, there was no sign of his salary increasing. Our life was forced into harsh frugality, and I was the only one whose health was deteriorating and losing weight. What I couldn't forgive the most was that my mother-in-law, who is usually very honest, had never thanked us for the money we sent them. In other words, the whole story about sending them money was a made-up story by my husband. We didn't need to send them money at all. If our health got worse, we could have easily gone to the hospital for a checkup. I could have easily understood that if I had realized it. But my mind lost its calm judgment in the midst of our financially tight life. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law, who probably realized everything, were staring at my husband with stern eyes.
Miles, can you explain what all of this means?
Miles, were you lying to Emily saying that Mom is in debt and coercing her into sending money?
And no, that's not it. It's different.
What is different? Explain it clearly.
Explain so that all of us can understand. Hurry up.
Well,
My husband seemed to be trying to get out of this tight spot, but my love for him had completely disappeared inside my heart. I could see he was feeling cramped and incredibly awkward, but I decided to confront him directly to understand the situation. Tell me, what is really going on? Both mother-in-law and sister-in-law say they don't have any debt. Where did the money I believed in you and sent every month go?
That is... well...
I won't forgive you for lying at such a critical time.
Nick,
The fact that he confessed was something I couldn't possibly accept.
actually, I was invited by a coworker, and I ended up going to a casino.
A casino. What is that?
Well, and somehow, I got a bit hooked.
I can't believe it. You started going to such places soon after your father-in-law passed away.
I'm sorry. I was just looking for a little break, and I went there without thinking too much.
I don't want to hear that. How can you do such a terrible thing? Using the money I worked so hard to earn to have fun in a casino, I can't believe it.
But I didn't mean to hurt you, Emily. Really, I didn't have that intention.
Even after hearing his words, the waves of anger inside me did not subside at all. I realized that my husband, whom I had never doubted before, had transformed into a completely different person behind my back, and I felt nothing but despair. When I raised my voice in anger, my husband desperately tried to defend himself and settle the situation, spouting a series of makeshift lies as if to clear up the misunderstanding. However, financial trust is something very difficult, almost impossible, to restore once broken, even between husband and wife. Even though he apologized repeatedly, the option of forgiving him had completely disappeared from my heart. I had reached my limit, and I couldn't bear to live any longer with someone who could lie so calmly. I felt that if this situation continued, my mental health would be in jeopardy. In such a situation, I decided to convey my feelings to my husband clearly, unreservedly, and honestly. Enough is enough. I didn't mean to hurt you. That's just a joke, and absolutely unforgivable. Not only can I not forgive you for lying, but how much do you look down on me, take me for granted? When I was sick and suffering from a fever, you said going to the hospital is a waste of money to save money, while you were enjoying yourself at a hostess club on the other hand. I can't believe it.
That's really terrible. I can't believe it.
As she spoke, a voice of surprise and empathy leaked from Rachel, my sister-in-law. Encouraged by her voice, I continued to express my anger towards my husband. I've really been doing my best to save and live frugally, thinking of my mother-in-law all this time. Whether it's food, daily necessities, or clothes, I've truly been patient in every aspect. Do you understand my feelings? Do you understand how much I've been trying? I can't think of you as family anymore. I want to cut ties with such a horrible person, such a terrible man right now. People like you, trash, should just go to hell.
That's going too far. It's just a casino.
Just a casino. You're splurging there with the money saved from cutting my hospital expenses. Don't you feel any guilt about that? Do you even realize how terrible what you've done is? My anger reached its limit, and my feelings of disappointment and despair towards my husband only grew.
That's not it. It was just a simple work-related drinking party.
I can't take it anymore. I've decided to leave this place.
Wait a minute. Emily, please. I'll really be ruined without you.
What are you talking about now? You like going to casinos and wasting money, don't you? It will be good for you to face reality when you suffer the consequences.
I never thought you would say something like that.
By the way, just so you know, I'm going to ask you to return all the money you've been sending home for the family. Be prepared for that. When I explained the situation to my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, they were both shocked, apologizing profusely and repeatedly, and bowed deeply.
Emily, I'm really sorry. I never imagined my son would do such a thing.
Emily, I don't know how to apologize properly, but we feel responsible for having such a useless brother.
Mother-in-law, sister-in-law, please raise your heads. It's not your fault.
No, that's not true. It's my responsibility as a parent for not educating my son properly that led him to take such awful actions. Please forgive me. I'll do anything to make amends.
Emily, please allow me to apologize as well. I am truly sorry from the bottom of my heart for all the trouble and hurt my brother has caused you.
That's enough. However, my decision is firm, and I have no choice but to choose divorce. I sincerely apologize to both of you for ending things this way after all the kindness you've shown me in various forms. At the moment, I bowed my head as deeply as I possibly could. They both shook their heads gently, tears streaming down their faces. Mom-in-law and sister-in-law, I am truly grateful for all the care you've provided and thank you from the bottom of my heart. At that point, my husband suddenly tried to stop me, his voice filled with agony. He knelt down on the spot and began to weave his excuse-laden words once again.
Emily, please. I apologize for everything up to now. So, please, won't you forgive me?
Before I could decide how to react, my sister-in-law swiftly took action. With a painful sounding smack, the space around us vibrated, and my husband stood there, his cheek reddened, utterly stunned.
I can't believe you. You're seriously not funny at all. Do you even understand how much you've hurt Emily?
Sister, why would you do something like that?
I can't believe it. You've been deceiving Emily out of her money for remittances, and on top of that, you didn't even take her to the hospital, wasting the money at casinos. How can you do such terrible things so calmly? I'm embarrassed to have you as a brother.
Wait, that's not it! Please, just listen to me.
There's no need to wait. It's clear that you've been forcing Emily to save money over these past few months, driving her to the brink mentally. Mom and I will never forgive you. We want nothing to do with you from now on. Understand that. So, don't ever show your face in front of us again.
She forcefully pulled my crying husband outside, locked the front door, and deleted all his contact information from her mobile phone. No matter how much he cried and screamed at the front door, she never opened it.
Emily, I'm really sorry. I can't say anything irresponsible, but I want you to forget about that man quickly and find new happiness.
She said this as she gave me a tight hug. I expressed my gratitude for everything up until now to her and my mother-in-law, and left my in-laws' house in tears. Afterwards, I immediately moved out of the house shared with my husband and rented a new place close to my workplace. Fortunately, since I was originally a full-time employee, I did not face major difficulties in life after the divorce. To expedite the divorce process with my husband, I sought help from a lawyer I knew. As a result, my husband was clearly at fault, and the divorce was promptly finalized. I claimed not only the swindled remittance money but also a significant amount in alimony, reaching the legal maximum claimable amount. He is now obligated to pay the alimony in a lump sum and is living a completely different, harsh life. He works tirelessly, pushing himself to the limit, exhausted in body and mind. He has no time for casinos he once loved so much. He has become a living dead, able to do nothing but work continuously. Even after the divorce, I received several messages from him admitting his fault. stating he has stopped visiting casinos, expressing he doesn't wish for a second chance but is in great trouble, and begging for a loan, claiming I'm all he has left. Ultimately, it seems like he's after money. I am no longer surprised and just witnessing his pitiful state. I have received all that I should from him, and I'm considering cutting off all contact with him completely. I have continued my relationship with my ex-mother-in-law and ex-sister-in-law, and they still care about me. We keep in regular contact, updating each other on our lives. Recently, seeing my regained spirit, my ex-mother-in-law teared up with joy.
I am so glad to see Emily smiling again.
Ex-mom, thank you so much. I'm fine now, so please don't worry about me. I can stand on my own.
I know, Emily. You'll be just fine. But remember, if anything happens, don't hesitate to talk to me or Rachel, okay?
Yes, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Really, thank you.
Next time we meet, let's all go on a lovely trip to Hawaii together. Yes, next time, let's the three of us have a wonderful time.
Yes, that sounds wonderful. I'm really looking forward to it. I truly believe that if my ex-mother-in-law and ex-sister-in-law hadn't been there for me, I wouldn't have been able to get through this difficult time of divorce. I can feel that they wish for my happiness more than anything, and that encourages me to live my life positively and earnestly for their sake and mine.